Hello and welcome to Kabam. If you don't know what this is, please refer to the introductory video. In this video I will cover some basic tasks that you'll need to be able to complete in order to follow along with the project. Now first, creating a new project. This is optional and you don't really need to be able to do this, but if we run the GDX setup tool, and I think you should be able to double click the jar file on Windows to do this, but I'm doing this by command line. You should get this lovely little window. Put in the project name, the package path, and the game class name. None of these are terribly important, but put them in anyway. You'll want to make sure you have the destination directory right. Unselect all of the sub-projects except for desktop. And under this, for extensions, select Ashley, AI, and Tools. And then click Generate. This will create a basic project with build scripts and everything you need to get started. On Windows you'll be running the batch file, and on Linux you'll run the shell script, but either way run this script with the parameter desktop:"run", and this will compile and run the project. Importing this into the IDE. Launch IntelliJ and open a project. You want to open the build.gradle file from the root folder of your project. Do not use the one that you find under desktop or core. Those are your sub-projects. You want to open either the root folder or preferably the build.gradle file. Click OK and open as project. Now these are the wrong settings, but I'm not going to worry about that too much right now. I'm just going to leave them wrong. Click OK. And once you've got this imported, to run the game from here, you need to go to the top right and click Add Configuration. And click that plus icon in the upper left. Select Application. Give it a name. I'm just going to say Run Silly Game. The main class is Desktop Launcher, and it should find this automatically, but if it doesn't find it, I'll show you how to fix that in just a minute. The working directory needs to be core/assets. That's very important. And the module needs to be desktop main. Because of how we imported this is kind of cluttered in here. This will be better next time. But select desktop main. And click OK. And now we should be able to run the project by clicking the little green triangle icon. Excellent. Now, what to do if it did not find Desktop Launcher? You need to go to this Gradle tab up in the upper right corner. Open up that Gradle tab. and click Refresh All Gradle Projects. That little refresh button right there. And that should enable it to find the desktop launcher. Editing the source code. I'm going to go through this a little slower than normal speed because normally I'll be moving very quickly. So I will create a field, sprite field, called sprite, and you'll notice it's showing in red, denoting an error because it cannot find that class. If I hit Alt-Enter and select Import Class, this automatically adds to my imports. That's the only time I'm going to do that slowly. Now I'll initialize that field as a new sprite based on the texture, and again I use auto-completion and keyboard shortcuts, which I'm going to do most of the time. And down here I'm going to add some parameters to the draw call. Scale and rotation. Now what do these parameters mean? Zeros. Go to Settings, go to Editor, General, Appearance, and Show Parameter Name Hints. That is going to give us these little extra things here, labels to the parameters. You can't edit or type over these, and they're just there to show you what the parameters are. So don't type any of those in. Don't try to. Remember, you can't beam through a shield, so don't try it. So I'm going to change these a little bit. I'm going to move, let's move X over by 200 pixels, or 200 units, not necessarily pixels, and rotate by 20 degrees counterclockwise. And if I run this, you can see the result. Now we need to know how to add our own graphics. Take a photo from your camera or phone and load it into your photo editor. We're going to right click, we're going to select layers, and we're going to right click on the layer and add an alpha channel. That's basically like a transparency stencil. Allows us to erase parts of the image so that the background can show through. So without getting into complicated and sophisticated ways to do that, we can just erase all the background like I'm doing here. And we could use the magic wand selection to just erase the background. Doesn't have to be really good. And like I said, there are better ways to do it than this. But just to keep it simple, erase the background, and then I'm gonna trim it down, and I'm going to save this. First, actually, you want to scale it down to a reasonable size. Let's say 400 by 315. And we want to save it as PNG, Portable Network Graphics, so that it retains the transparency. Next, we're going to forget all about that, and you can delete the project. If you had any trouble with any of that, don't worry too much, because now we're going to download the actual project. So go to this repository. I will provide a link in the description, and you can download the code in one of two ways. You can copy the link and clone it, clone the repository using git clone, and put in the address, and there you have it. And then you have all the code and you're ready to go. The other way is you can download as a zip file, but if you do that, you need to get the right version, because of course the code will change over time. So select lesson 1 from tags, or go to release, download the zip file for the appropriate lesson 1. Now, if you want to do it this way, if you've cloned the repository, you can check out lesson 01, just like that. And don't worry about the detached head. It's not decapitated or anything. Don't worry about it. Now, when opening it in the IDE, when you want to import this, the settings that you want to use auto import. You want to use explicit module groups, and make sure to uncheck this create separate modules. Make sure that's unchecked, and use default Gradle wrapper. Click OK. Now, once you have that imported, you can access the repository functions in the corner here, in the lower corner. We're on the master branch right now. If we click here, we can select branches, but we can also check out a tag or revision, and we can do it from within here the same as we did from the command line. Check out lesson 01, and we have the appropriate version of the code. And this is just the hash value of that particular commit. Now, as before, we need to add a run configuration. And up here, plus application, give it a name, desktop launcher, working directory core/assets, class path of module desktop. Click OK, and we can run. Now, if you've gotten here, if you've gotten to this point, this is all you really need. Even if you didn't import it into the IDE and you just used the script, as long as you can get to here, you are ready to confront Vader, young Padawan. So here is your homework. You need to create the very first thing that every game needs. What do you think that is? It is a loading screen. Har har. So get out your crayons and draw up a loading screen. It doesn't have to be any good, but just draw any kind of loading message. I'm not going to spend any time on this because this is an assignment for you. Make thicker lines than this, but make a loading screen. Take a picture of it with your camera, making sure the lighting is even. Take it into your image editor as described previously, and make it suitable for the game. extra credit if you can figure out how to replace the current loading screen with your own.